I couldn't be happier to have a very special guest today. Andreas Gal, former CTO at Mozilla, today the founder and CEO of Silk Labs, where you apply artificial intelligence to this vast area of IoT. They've got like all these connected devices and mostly they don't talk to each other or talk to each other in very basic ways. Where do you see this going? Because there doesn't seem to be like a common language for these devices at the moment, right?
I think that's a really good point, and I think there's a lot in the history of the web that we can use to learn here. If you think back, the web wasn't really solved and evolved into what it is today by sitting down and doing a grand committee of plans and like coming up with this like 10-year plan of technology and then implementing that. It was really just like people were adding random pieces to the web, and some piece of it worked, others didn't. Multiple companies evolved the web, and then at some point after the fact, they would get together and try to kind of harmonize these standards a little bit. I think that's a very powerful approach, and I think that's really what will happen in the IoT space as well, is that we have to focus first on really good experiences and great products where we solve real problems. And once you have two devices that solve real problems for you, then we can find a way how they work together and do this even better. If you start the other way around by gathering a large committee of people and come up with some standards, there's 5 or 6 of them already. And nobody's really using them because it's very hard to take the first step. And I think this is one of the big mistakes that a lot of IoT device manufacturers are making, is that they're going to slap connectivity onto a device and now you have a connected toaster. Right. And it's just as bad or worse than an actual toaster. Right. So it's really around bringing intelligence to these devices, and that's what we are focused on. So what Silk Labs really is specialized in, we are bringing the latest advances in AI technology directly into these devices. And there's a lot of privacy, but also usability benefits if the intelligence comes to the edge versus trying to put all of this intelligence functionality into the cloud.
Do you think, on a macro trend, do you think that we are seeing a shift away from like people going into software engineering and more into the data science? So Absolutely. Is the job of the future the data scientist versus the software engineer?
Absolutely. I think I firmly believe long-term software engineering is really going to be de-emphasized as kind of the crown jewel of making especially software-based products. The last 20 years, software engineers were basically fairly high up in a decision-making process because we had so much influence how software experiences turn out. This will change. It will be much about data scientists and how to understand data and how to form these neural networks. There's really a big shift happening. Now it's important, this is a long-term trend, right? Like I think it's comparable like self-driving cars. Yeah. Like yes, I would not, if today you can still get a driver license, it will still be useful to you for many years. But in a long-term trend, at some point, you probably want to think about a different long-term career than a driver. I'm not discouraging people to go to school right now to learn how to program, but over a 20-year time frame, we will see a lot more emphasis being put on data sciences and understanding how to use data to train neural networks to solve problems, and sort of use software engineering, manual skills to design algorithms to solve similar problems.
I'm curious, like you've been in technology forever, you got a really deep background in technology. What are you most excited about the future, outside of your field?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I find very exciting right now about just the way technology itself is evolving is that the most powerful applications of technology have now left the direct technology sector. We're seeing especially software technology, but to a large degree also hardware technology, really transcend software engineering in Silicon Valley, and the coolest companies that solve the coolest problems are no longer narrowly speaking like just technology companies, right? This goes from everything from a Lyft and an Uber that transports you somewhere. Yes, there's technology involved, but at the end of the day, first of all, it's a magical experience. It's the closest we have gotten so far to the Star Trek transporter. You step outside a building, get out your phone and push a button, and half an hour later you show up in a different place. It's magic, right? And technology is involved, but really in a secondary role. It transforms the way people interact with each other and makes new experiences possible. But also, if you think about agriculture, like I started helping a company that does indoor agriculture using big data to kind of see how you can improve the efficiency of agriculture. So here's technology making agriculture better. So I think this is very exciting for me as a technologist, is that I can see what we have done the last 20, 30 years in technology, what we have learned, really impact broadly the field around the narrow technology sector.
That's fantastic.